To help us dissect further, I would want to call upon our panelists or discussants who are going to also give us some very specific perspectives around the mutual evaluation, and also give us some indications in terms of what are some of those things that we might start to think of as we are preparing for the exercise. Allow me to call upon our first discussant, which is our regulator. I think from the presentation you have heard, the regulator has a role to play, and the regulator has a lot of input into the process. I would want to call upon our PVO Registrar, Mr. Totamirepi Tirivavi, to join us as one of our discussants. We can clap hands for him. Secondly, it's always good to learn from other jurisdictions in terms of experiences. And for those that have managed to attend the previous editions of the retreat, you remember we have been joined by Yona Wanjala, who is the Executive Director for Civic Advisor Hub, which is also a partner in this edition of the retreat, where he tried to give us some overview in terms of the AML CFT architecture, the issues of FATF Recommendation 8, and I think he has also shared quite a number of strategies that we can employ to mitigate against unintended consequences. So in this edition, we have a privilege to have the Deputy Director or Chief of Programs for Civic Advisor Hub, Hilda Achiro. Allow me to call you into the panel.
I'm interested in that.
Last but not least, it's always good to also get some perspective from one of our own, from the civil society. I think, like I mentioned earlier on, when we started the PVO amendment bill process, so most of us, that's where we started to appreciate and started to be interested to understand the FATF process and recommendation 8. And I think it might be good for also to then have some reflections around how do we perceive, or how do we look at the progress that we have made in terms of understanding and also mitigating against unintended consequences. Allow me to call upon Advocate Wilbert Mandinde, who is the Acting Executive Director for the Zimbabwe Human Rights NGO Forum, to also join the panel. Let us start with the registrar, Mr. Tirivavi. I think we have had quite a lot of work that is supposed to be done collaboratively between the regulator and the regulated. And I would want to pose a question to understand what are some of the preparations, and also what are some of the those things that from the regulator perspective you think we can do in as far as the upcoming FATF mutual evaluation exercise is concerned. Over to you.
Thank you very much, moderator. I think from our perspective, as we are doing the preparations, what we would expect from you is to do your part to make sure that you submit your annual activity reports and your audited financial statements. And because this is also one way where they would want to say, are your NPOs complying with the, how do you monitor them to make sure that there's no money laundering? And then for us, those are statutory returns that we expect from you. And we also, because sometimes they might even want to visit one or two organizations. So when we say we want your annual activity reports and audited financial statements, it is that we want to make sure that we are also make sure that you are being transparent, accountable, and this is how we want to make sure that so that whenever there are any, even when you see the ministry sending in auditors at your organization, the idea is sometimes we just receive an anonymous report, but normally what we do is we write to you to say, we have received this, can you respond? You respond, then we send in. If you are not satisfied with what you have said, that's when we can send the auditors to come and look at the various aspects of the organization. It's not about intimidating or threatening you. This is something that was being done ever since we had the NPO sector in the country.
Thank
Thank you, Mr. Tirivavi, for that. The issue of submission of annual reports. Maybe just a follow-up on that. With the PVO Amendment Act, and now that we have a backlog in terms of processing the applications, so I think from that front, what do you think needs to be done to ensure that by the time we get to the mutual evaluation exercise, at least all the pending, issues and also the pending work in as far as the PVO Amendment Act is fully operationalized? How do you think that might affect the mutual evaluation exercise?
Well, thank you very much. I think with the issue of all the pending registration, this is why you remember in my discussion yesterday, where I was saying that all the pending applications, we hope to have cleared them by end of February next year. So we are quite confident that by the time they will come in, would have cleared all the backlog. And we also want to make sure that when they come, probably by then we would also have a draft in terms of review of our 2003 regulations, because you see, the idea of mutual evaluation as well what is more important is make sure that there's good rapport between the regulator and the regulated. We are not enemies, but we are there to make sure that ours is just make sure that we create a conducive working environment for you, and also to help each other wherever there is if there are any organization that have got even governance challenges, please do not hesitate to raise it with the registrar, and we can always find out from other sister departments to make sure that we can come and assist you to train you, not to make sure that the idea is we do not want to penalize. Because even if you look at the civil penalties, they are not just applied abruptly. There is a rationale. You are given time to respond, given time to rectify whatever you are supposed to rectify. If you do not comply, that's when the civil penalties will be then imposed. And those are things that we want to make sure that everybody will be, you and us will be, by the time the mutual evaluation will come, will be on the same on the same page.